All right, we'll go ahead and get started this evening. I'd like to welcome and thank our Board of Supervisors and County Administrators for joining us this evening. And I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Murphy.
Thank you. Well, welcome. We'll be arm wrestling just a little bit later for the increase for the school board. So you'll have to pick who you want to arm wrestle.
I don't see anybody in the building that can beat me. I'll just be honest
Okay,
with you.
you'll just do that. Okay, good. The school board has already had 2 work sessions on the budget. And we wanted to get an early start. And let me also recognize the new school superintendent, Dr. Tony Wright, who's over here. He's with us today. Troy. Why did I say Tony? It's a T word.
Hello. Troy Wright. Nice to meet you.
And we just wanted to give a jump start on the budget between the county and the schools prior to the new administration in Richmond coming out with their revenue projections. So we will have all of our needs-based budget ready for the revenues that are coming forth. And so we can make those decisions. So tonight, if you can get to this page, if you go to our website, and you will see a link because we are broadcasting this live tonight, and there's another link there for you to go to this document. And so we have narrowed everything we've talked about so far to one document. All the information that we've talked about with all the supporting documents are behind this page. So we're going to kind of talk through that tonight. The other thing that's extremely important for us to remember is this is where we are at this moment in time. That's all. We are just right here at this moment in time in terms of this budget process. So there's going to be a couple of things we're going to review as we go through this. First and foremost is there is legal oversight in the Code of Virginia of how our school budget is developed. And what the Code of Virginia, and I have the full code is behind the yellow thing there, but you will see that it simply says it's the duty of the superintendent to prepare with school board approval and submit an estimate of the funds needed to run the school system. Now, it's not what we wish to have, it's what we need in order to run the school system. So that's the legal oversight in doing this. And I've said this many times to many school boards and governing bodies. Any budget does not have a life of its own. It doesn't stand by itself. It's got to be related to something. And in terms of the school system, our budget's related to our strategic plan. And in our strategic plan, which is up this year, which Dr. Wright will be putting together in the months to come, is what we're about and where we're heading. So in that strategic plan, you will see things like how our schools are going to become or are accredited, our compensation for our staff, our safe environment, our transportation, and that we want to have credentialed staff to work with our students. So that kind of gives us an overview of that. So speaking of students, if you will click on class size, you will basically see all of our schools by grade level and the class sizes for all of those. Now, being in a county this size, it doesn't happen that we, by area, can have like only 15 kids per kindergarten classroom. They come in all ages and all sizes in lots of different ways to our schools. The other thing which is worth noting here, because I asked staff for this, we do something in the school system called zone transfers. And what that means is, so for our employees that have children, they may want them to go to the school where they are. So that saves on babysitting and so on and so forth. So they can make a request to come out of their current resident zone to go to another different zone. And we opened that up to lots of people. And I thought, well, maybe that's inflating our class sizes. Because if that happens, we can start denying those zones so we don't have to add a teacher. But that's not the case. As you see our class sizes here, we're in fairly good shape as we look at our class sizes. We had a bump this year at AS Rhodes, particularly in second grade, where when you start getting the younger kids in K1 and 2, anything over 20 is a little difficult to handle when they're that young. So we added additional staff, which was an instructional assistant to help that teacher move through that. So we did that earlier in the year. We have that ability to do that, to reduce, we don't reduce the class size per se, but we are allowed to put those in to help out the teacher. So going back to your area, student population is always of interest. So if you will click on student population 2526, when we were putting this together, I learned something about Warren County that I did not even know, but I asked this question. So if you look at 2012 and 2013, 5,392 students. That's a lot of students. And then it starts dipping off. So I asked our resident historian, who's sitting, Mr. Ballantyne, and I said, so Rob, what's that about? Why is that there? He says, Dr. Martin, when the power plant was being built, all of these families came here to live for the duration of putting the power plant together, and then they left. Or they went on to their next thing. So that's of interest. Right now, in 25-26, you'll see we have just over 4,000 students and 4,780 students. Now, why is that significant? So our state money is based on our student enrollment. And if you go back to the first page, because we're going to keep going back and forth, our budget is based on 4,863. So you are probably thinking, as I have been thinking, so you're going to receive less state dollars. That is true. So we have not determined what our student enrollment will be in the next year, in the next budget. But typically, as you look at budgeting, you want to be very conservative so you don't put yourself in a place where you're going to have a big dip in student enrollment. You want to be able to plan for those students. And the other thing which I will encourage staff to think about, we didn't have time to put this together. There is a statistical model which helps us look at student enrollment. It's called the cohort survival method. It is a statistical thing where we would call Richmond and determine the number of live births that occurred in this area or zip codes when parents have kids, no matter where they have it, where do they live. And then we can project our enrollment as kids move up. That statistical method typically is good for about 3 years of prediction. Anything beyond that, because of our mobile society, it really kind of falls apart. But certainly, young families, when they have children, they typically stay in that area until the kids go to kindergarten or first grade, is what the research tells us. So with that, do you have any questions about the Code of Virginia, strategic plan, class size, or student population? Mr. Ballantyne can answer any question you might have. So we're going to move right through this. We're going to move down the left-hand side of your page. We have the queen of textbooks here tonight. This is Heather, and Heather is our Assistant Superintendent for Instruction, and she's going to talk through the textbook piece with you.
Absolutely. Good evening. So for this upcoming fiscal year and budget projection, we are requesting funds for a K-8 math purchase. Our current math textbooks, they run out of contract at elementary and middle school at the end of this school year. And I know a lot of times with textbooks, there's consideration of, well, you know, those books are still sitting on the shelf. Can we continue to use those? At elementary, the textbooks are consumable books. So the consumable texts have gone with the kids. So there are no class set of hardback books available or anything like that for, for our elementary students specifically. Also, with the math textbook that we selected at middle school, it also had a consumable portion for it, and we used that as a class set. So all of our textbooks now are also accompanied by a digital subscription for each student. So in order to cover the K-8 math course, we estimate that cost will be around $600,000 to $900,000 for a 7-year textbook purchase. So purchase textbooks once, it gets us through a 7-year cycle. That's typically how the state runs both like the update to the standards and also the textbook purchases is on a 7-year cycle. So it is an expense, but it does cover for approximately the next 7 years as we enter into the contract. At history, we are requesting history textbooks for specific courses that our students are SOL tested. So that's 4th grade Virginia Studies, 8th grade Civics and Economics, and currently 9th grade World Geography. There are a lot of discussions happening down at the state, including a state board meeting today, where there's a lot of things being changed, altered, and suggested for accountability in the coming years. So I don't know if history is one of those things that will change. It is on one of the talking points as a possibility. But those 3 courses would cover our history needs for textbooks. The county has not purchased a history textbook since 2012. So it's been a long time without a specified division instructional resource for our history courses. And that estimate is between $85,000 and $120,000. And again, that oftentimes covers at the high school and middle school level a class set of textbooks, roughly around 30 per class, with a digital subscription for everyone, and then a consumable textbook at elementary for each student, and a digital portion as well. So our teacher resources are oftentimes digitally. It's one of the great things about digital curriculum now is as things change, they can be updated, without reissuing a whole new teacher's edition book. But those do have contract lives, and we are at the end of that with our current math series. So the teachers lose access to some of that digital curriculum as well. So that's the overall total on the textbooks. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
And again, if you hit the blue textbooks, there's a lot of stuff behind that.
Mm-hmm.
So anything you see blue here, there's a lot of documentation behind it. I want to go back because I didn't do something that I was supposed to do, and that was tell you how all of this was developed. All of our cost center managers, all of the teachers, principals, they submitted their needs. And once we received those needs, actually we developed a rubric which we could assign a numerical value to those requests to determine which ones had a direct impact on student learning and which ones did not. And so those that had a direct impact had a higher rating because we're trying to get as much bang for our bucks with kids. So that's how all of this was developed. Every school, every teacher had input into what you're seeing here tonight. So that process started quite some time ago. So failed to do that and follow the agenda. My apologies. And now we're going to move on to pay.
I think there was a question
Oh, I'm
on the
sorry.
textbooks.
Sorry.
I was just wondering if you have any insight into what is the basis for the width of the estimate. It says 600 to 900, like a 50%.
So the estimate is based off of the textbooks that are currently on the VDOE list of acceptable publishers. And so there are, some textbook companies that charge less for their materials and the packages that they offer. Others charge more. And there's also a variety of packages that can be purchased. So for example, discussing like that digital license piece, how many hardback books we buy. Also, it's a good opportunity to point out that how we continue to fund our technology, specifically our one-to-one Chromebook initiatives, is going to impact how we purchase textbooks. So for example, if we were to have to phase out, Chromebooks for our elementary students, then that means we're going to have to change how we purchase, textbooks for elementary, because we do tie in with digital platforms and things like that. So that is the reason for the spread. Those math textbooks and history textbooks are based off of actual estimates that we currently have from the different publishers. If you look down that document at the upcoming 2 years, you'll notice that the purchases are in italics. That is because those are prices based on our previous purchase. We have not yet looked at English books, so I don't have any price quotes for English textbooks. And so that's what's coming kind of down the pike as well. This year it's a math and history request. Next year it will be a K-12 English in addition to some high school math and science books, and then following on to the next year is a science K-8 purchase. So the way the textbook purchases roll, you get hit kind of hard with core courses 1 year right after the other, and then you get a little bit of a break to hopefully continue to replenish that textbook fund.
Thank you.
Rachel.
All right. Moving on to, I'm going to talk through our pay scales and just kind of an analysis I did on our surrounding counties. So we're a part of Region 4. That includes Loudoun, Prince William, Manassas. I don't think it's fair for us to compare ourselves to them just because of the, it's not going to be fair to say our salaries are not similar to theirs. We know that, and that's fine. So what I did do is look at the average of salaries based around our neighboring counties and really where our employees are leaving for or coming to from. So when we look at our current scale, so that's based off of this fiscal year, we do pay less, and this is just an average, and I used our teachers. So our teachers are over 500 FTEs for us, and so they're the biggest population, so that's the one I went off of. I haven't done an analysis of other positions, and I am actively working on looking at, the cost of living benefit analysis to see really where we rank. But for right now, this is just with teachers and where we rank with our neighboring counties. So we do pay less than Winchester, Frederick, and Clark, but we do pay significantly more than Page, and a little bit more than Shenandoah. So what I would like to propose is a 3-year plan to get us a little bit more competitive. Last year, we were able to give everybody a 3%, which is nice. Traditionally, it's been a 3% plus step. So we did hold on that from our employees. So to make us more competitive and to also adjust a staggered scale approach. So when you look at our scale, so grade 35 are our nurses. Everything's kind of coded in grade by position. Those have not been updated. We haven't condensed them. We haven't seen how competitive we are with them. Some of them are a little dated to include our coaching staff. Those haven't been touched in 10 years. It would be an astronomical amount of money to say we need to fix all of this now to be competitive, and I don't think that's realistic, and I wouldn't present that to you. So I do have a 3-year plan to help us remain a little bit more competitive, to rank number 2 if the surrounding counties just do their 3% plus step as they've traditionally done. So with that, I would propose our our year one, which would be the next fiscal year, a 4% raise plus step for all positions and in ranking order. So depending on the funding, this is how we would look at them. And if it couldn't be done, they would just kind of go to the next year. But rank or go through our instructional assistants, our nurses, then bus drivers, and then our dean to the administrator scale. I won't get into the weeds on that, but our deans, that is a good stepping stone into administration to then go to an assistant principal. If they have more than 10 years of teaching experience, they're actually going to lose money to go to an assistant principal because of how we count the years of experience. And so we don't want that. So we just need to update that. And then looking at our coaching staff. So instead of changing all of our coaches supplements for now, we would look at just doing our head coaches for this year, and then next year go to our assistant coaches. And then we would like to add, and it's also on the link for the 4% plus step in blue, that would be the proposed salary scales. So we would like to add 2, or in the intern school psychologist program, we're looking to add 2 for this upcoming year. That will help build the pipeline. Right now, they have to have 1,100 clinical hours. So we would like to compensate them, for the interns. And again, build our pipeline. And then transition 3 positions from a 50% local match and move them away from being 100% title funded. In year 2, we would again do the 4% plus step for all positions, and then adjust our salaries, social workers and speech pathologist positions, and then add in the assistant coaches. Year 3, I would propose just a 3% plus step. That would, I think, get us back to more of that competitive approach, and then look at our maintenance specialists and automotive mechanics scale. So that way we're touching them year after year, and we have them in order so we can just kind of stay with it. Any questions on the averages or the comparison on what we would like to propose or move forward with? The next thing we are working on is our benefits. So, go ahead, please.
I was just wondering, I saw where all the different counties, and have you all taken into account, because, Fauquier, we touch right up against them. Is that one of the ones that we take a look at, or is that considered in a different area?
We could. I have looked at their scales, and they do pay more from just, and I'm only looking at last year's data from our exit interviews, but they're really not leaving for Fauquier. Most of them are there already, and some might come to us for a shorter commute.
Okay.
So
I was just curious.
yeah, no, I could, but it probably just wouldn't be as advantageous from some of the data that I have. But thank you.
And I just have one question too, I'm sorry, but you had mentioned after the 3rd year, so the 4th year and thereafter, that you'll keep this kind of this step approach. Is that what I understood?
Yes.
And that, are you aware of within each of those years what the dollar figure is? And but actually more pointedly, after this 3-year initial phase, will those annual increases thereafter be comparable? In other words, year 1, year 2, year 3, are they equal in dollar amount? Each of the 3 years, is it a level dollar figure?
So depending, are you talking about holistically with all of the scales, or just individual scales and the step approach? Like just sorry, so I want to make sure I'm understanding your question. So
not with regard to like the base compensation
okay.
increase, the 3% or whatever you decide moving forward, but specifically with regard to kind of this catch up that you're trying to play, is the additional catch up portion commensurate among the 3 years?
They are.
Does that make sense?
Yes, no, it does. So it would be for each year that we would go, and obviously the amount would change based off the step that the individuals are. So, but from a holistic standpoint, like yes, those would remain the same.
So I guess what I'm really trying to get at is moving forward into the 4th year and beyond.
Correct.
Would the board expect that, that increase is going to be commensurate kind of moving forward. Is
Yes, so
that,
just
is that
with the
service going to be
3%
leveled?
afterwards, unless other counties, unless something were to change, I don't know what that is. So, for example, the minimum wage in 2026 is going up, where for the first time that I have ever seen, the minimum wage will be higher than the state minimum wage. And what is the impact to that? So we do have positions where this next year we have to look at that standpoint. So if there are changes within the state or federal government that we don't know about, they unfortunately don't call me with their plans, wish they did, but that could change it. But ideally, we would stick with our 3% plus step moving forward with that, and that would keep us on par. But just this planned approach to get there now would help us.
So, I have another question for you. So you talked about the exit interviews,
Yes.
and and I'm sure that when you've got teachers coming from other areas to come here, that you talk to them. And how often is it a factor that somebody is coming to this county not because of the pay or because of the commute, but they're looking at it and they say, the place I left was a real zoo, and I want to come to a place that I can conduct some learning. How often do you run into that?
I'm really glad you asked this question. So we just completed our state interviews, and so this is the first time we've ever done them here. And what a state interview is more of an engagement survey, and we picked our first year Warren County Public School teachers. So that doesn't mean they're a first year teacher, it just means they're first year with us. And so there were some people that we interviewed that were 18-year veteran teachers that came here. One of them was a 4-year veteran teacher that came here, and they didn't like being treated like a number. And so I won't say what counties they came from because that's not very nice. I won't do that to them, but they didn't like the lack of coaching that they're getting. And so from coming here, they're like, wow, our IRT team, Hope was mentioned several times, spend a lot of time training with me. The first 2 weeks were wonderful. And so we got a lot of really good data from that. So I was very happy that they're not coming here just for the money, but because it is a smaller population. Like even our student ratio, and please hear me when I say our student ratio is 13-to-1. We do not have 13 kindergartners ever in a class, but just it is a little bit different. It's a little bit smaller. So we did get some good feedback on that.
Okay.
So sometimes sometimes it's the balance of even their stress and coming here.
Because I know that it's not always about the money. Sometimes it's about the working environment that they're involved in.
Absolutely. So it was really nice to have that this year, and next year we'll target a different group and get some more feedback to keep building on. So, all right, benefits. So for benefits, we are looking at last year, just with my arrival, and I'll blame myself on this and trying to dive into this to see really where we stand. We were a little late in the game by the time we started really looking at benefits and shopping for benefits, and the quotes that we got would have been an increase, and it would not have been advantageous for us. So right now we offer 3 tiers. So we have our HSA plan, our $1,000 deductible plan, and then our Cadillac plan, our $250 deductible plan. So all of the neighboring counties that we did the salary market or the study with, salary market study with, everybody has Anthem. That's just who we really have in this area. Obviously there's other carriers that we could go with. The local choice, which is TLC, which is the same benefits as the county, a lot of our neighboring counties also have them. So as we look through this, I am predicting a 12% increase. So for the last 3 years, this will be our 3rd year back with TLC. It's been 2% each year that we've had. Excuse me. So that'll be the estimated increase. So we just ran through some scenarios to see what would be the cost impact by staying with TLC with a 12% increase, keeping it the way that we have it. But then also, what if we start mirroring us with the county so it's a little bit more similar? Well, we're kind of comparing apples to oranges. And so from the end of that, it was about a $20,000-ish difference in savings for us to go to the 2-tier plan that you have. And yes, that sounds like a lot, but we're also we have different markets that we're working with. You know, on the county side, you have firefighters, you have police officers. We have people right out of college, fresh and new, you know, and starting that relationship and families and things like that, where the insurance is a little different. I won't say they're all healthier, because when I tell you that we had over $1 million in claims, that doesn't sound like we're very healthy either, but we are. So as we just compare those benefits and structure, the cost savings, there would be one. We would have to tailor our plan. I did meet with the HR manager for the county side, and we had a lovely conversation. It was great to get to know her as far as, you know, the plans that on what you're having your first year with TLC, you know, being back with them, and then what if we join services, like what would that look like? So really, you go out to bid for insurance about every 3 to 5 years because you have the most data. So we haven't really dug into ours this year because our benefits started in October. So we don't have a lot of the data for this year, but this is our year to shop. So we are already going out to get quotes. So if we were to go Anthem Direct, United Health Direct, would we have a cost savings there? And then we're really looking at the self-insured versus fully insured model. And what will that look like? And so I will say there's risk and reward with that. And one of the risks is you do have to have kind of a pot of money to start with, because you're responsible for the claims. And those claims you're responsible for is up to $150,000 is the average on what we would have to pay as now the carrier, if you will. You still would go through Anthem or United Health or whoever. And so we have to pay that out first. So our claims last year were over $1 million. So that's past that $150,000 point. So we would have to have that. Now, that's not saying our claims will be the same. We do have short-term, we have long-term, we have FMLA. You know, so we have these other things to kind of help in between. But if they're on our plans, you know, we would still be liable for those. So we're diving into it. We're looking at it. The nice thing is we can tailor the plans to how we want them. So we might want to say, you know, for a cost savings for pharmaceuticals, we might say, you know, we're going to make the emergency room visit $1,000 instead of $500, like, you know, a normal carrier might make it. So we can tailor those to our population, but then also for a savings in one area versus another. The other really big benefit is if anybody takes a prescription, there's a credit that your carrier gets. Well, we would now get them. And that is the biggest, that's where the money is. That's where we will be actually making the money to start and to have that pool versus paying it to Anthem, which is who we have now. So right now they're getting that. So am I good so far? Kind of, sorry. Health insurance, I talk about it so often, but I make it sound like everybody should know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm going to pause for a second. Is there anything that I've said so far that we want to chat about before I kind of dive? Yes, please.
You were mentioned that you had reached out with county HR and stuff. There was no additional buying power to where if all the county departments kind of went under one umbrella, one policy kind of thing, sheriff, county, and school, was there any advantage there at all?
Yeah, so that's kind of where I was leading into next with TLC. No, you're fine. So we're ready. We'll move on.
Just one thing. When you mentioned the credits,
yes,
and accumulating them instead of passing them off to Anthem,
yes,
is that on the road to self-insuring? Is that what you were?
That would be if we were fully self-insured, we would get those credits.
If
right
we
now,
were, but
we're not.
Until we are, we get nothing.
Correct.
Because you have to actually make the full step.
Correct,
Okay.
you do. So that's what TLC is. They're really self-insured, but they have where they've created this, municipality, where now they cover a lot of school districts. So they're getting those credits, but we are getting a very good discount if you look at, other places. And I did do a quick analysis, from other counties and what they're doing, but most of them are with TLC. And that's because the pharmacies are all the same for every plan, and they're able to do that most likely because they're getting those credits and they can utilize them. So if we went full or self-insured, we would have that option. But again, the risk is without kind of having that pool of money to start with, if we have those big claims, we have to pay those out when we're billed on a weekly basis. So Maria Bolton is our one and only benefit specialist, so it will be a little bit of a different workload for her as well. So, but that's what we're looking at. So we're actually going out, we're looking to see if this would help. And so for joining services, so we are a bigger group. We have about 560 employees enrolled in our benefits. And when I talked to Ms. Dar and looked at your enrollment for benefits, she had sent over her census, and I apologize, I don't have that in front of me. But you
have 542, but you said it's about 560. And if it's a little over $1 million in claims, that's less than 1,900 per person. That's not bad.
No, it's not.
not
I
bad.
think our
I just look at
claims
the
are,
million that could be
Yeah,
our responsibility. So maybe
our
that's
claims are in excess of 5 million.
I was saying they had increased over $500,000 from the year before.
That's true,
Yeah.
yes.
So what would be the benefit to me as an employee covered under this if we went self-insured? Would my deductible, my premium go down? Because I'm thinking,
Right.
with I'm trying to think of how the state did it, because I know they were self-insured, but we still paid the premium that went in, and then they paid Anthem to be the administrator. And I don't know what it would have been if, because that's the program he had for 42 years. But I'm wondering, the bottom line is we're trying to help each employee be able to afford, and I'm looking at what they're paying here, and I'm thinking at over $2,000 for the top plan for family. I don't know what their income is, but that's a big chunk of a monthly income there. Is that bottom line going to decrease to be a benefit for them? Or are we just getting more coverage for that cost?
So it would most likely stay with Anthem. So as far as like the coverage really would not change. The amounts on what we are covering would. So you might be able to see a little bit lesser rate that you're paying per month, but then you might go to your doctor and you're paying a little bit more. So it's kind of a give and take in that area. And I think for us, it's just what is the least amount of impact from the compensation side on what we can do to help our employees, but then also, for them and their take home. Last year we did an analysis with our instructional assistants with our $1,000, or our $250 deductible plan. And with the 3% increase, some of them lost money, and so I do think it's just looking at pros and cons of both sides. So I can't say for sure, depends on each person's plan. The idea is not to have a huge increase, but in reality, I think it's minimizing the impact of increase. So when we looked at Anthem Direct last year, it would have been a 35% increase for us just to switch over. We wouldn't have done that. It was better to take the 10% hit where everybody shared a little bit of that cost. And so I know like every year you're going to see an increase. The average is about, I'll say 15 to 22% an increase every single year. So just minimizing that part of the impact to them. I don't think it's realistic that they would always see a decrease.
Well, I also understand we have to keep in line with what the providers here accept.
Yes.
And I know we switched one time and we didn't have any providers that would accept it.
Correct.
So that
was
that plays in.
The great divide between Valley Health and Anthem, and then they worked it out at the 11th hour and everybody had already switched. So yeah, it'd be great if we didn't relive that.
Going back to the what you shared with us, I believe, if I understand this correctly. So the insurance companies are under no obligation to share with us the credit they're getting on the prescription stuff. Correct. So we could make an informed decision to go to self-insured. So we don't know how much money they're actually making.
Correct.
And it's a risk by pulling that out and starting our own.
Correct.
If you did go to self-insured with TLC, would the risk pool be the county level, or would it be pulled together with the whole state and all the other counties together in the same risk pool?
So if we went self-insured, we would separate from TLC, and it would be Warren County Public Schools with obviously Warren County, the risk.
Okay.
So But the idea is that when people do this and switch over, the guidance I had gotten was, about every 4 years, you're going to see kind of that dip. And then you'll build it back up and it'll be okay. But you just got to be prepared for that dip, and you don't want year one to be that dip. Yeah, that's something we're looking at. And we'll truly start more in December because our benefits just started in October, so we don't have a lot of that data, and then hopefully have a lot more to present in January with what those costs would actually look like.
So on your slide, it has 5 bullets with different options. That's assuming you stay with Anthem, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you haven't made a decision as far as an analyze. Well, actually, you can't. This year you already are.
Right.
You already are.
Correct. Yes, this will be for next year.
What you'll be evaluating is
Yes.
the possibility next year. So what's on this slide with these 5 bullets is the options that you made
Yes.
this year.
Yes.
Okay.
That was what. No, those are the options for next year. So
Well,
it
I mean
was-
this coming year. what we're
Yeah.
gonna do.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Yep.
And if I might, I mean, one of these numbers jumps out, right? I mean, the middle number, the
Is that
1,000
the,
employer contribution. It's just, I mean, like a significantly lower cost.
Let me get to the correct.
I think it's slide 16.
I think I have.
Only got
Yeah.
12 pages. Where you at?
Well, it's a slideshow. It's called FY 26-27 budget presentation.
Oh. So,
Oh.
we're there. Okay.
Okay. You
Oh,
went,
you're at the bottom.
You're at the
From
bottom.
When she presented it the
slides.
first time.
you're fine.
Okay.
We'll get there.
There seems to be more information.
Yeah. This is what I had presented to our board. I'm sorry. You said slide 16. Yeah. Oh, okay. Are you looking at the flat rate of
Yeah.
$1,000? Yes, it's a $2 million savings.
Right.
So if we were to give all of our employees only $1,000 towards their benefits, there would be a $2 million savings from this year on what we are paying for benefits. What's not reflected on here is the impact that would have to the employee, because that $2 million truly goes back to them.
This presentation, I just noticed, was from 10/21, so it's pretty old. So did that?
Oh, the October 20, last month.
Right.
Last month.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't realize that. I thought that was part of tonight's presentation. Okay. So that's not really, we're not discussing these 5 bullets.
We're not.
Right.
So
Okay.
last year when us and our board had talked about benefits, it was, some people are getting more. The families are, if you're on a family plan, we're actually contributing more to your benefits than if you're, an employee plus children. So what would it look like if we all got the exact same, type of level, funding towards your benefits? And so because we talked about it last year, I wanted to present the total impact for this year. So, it is a $2 million savings, but I don't know that some employees would be able to keep our benefits because they would get that impact to them afterwards.
When you discuss this, has your board decided to step over this and leave that behind?
This was just presented
Yeah, there's
to
been no
us
decision.
on
Yeah.
October.
No
Like, it's
decision.
all been
Yeah.
part of our
Everything's
budget
still on-
discussion.
I don't know.
All right.
Have we? No.
No, she presented it to us
Okay.
during one of our budget work sessions
All right.
last month.
So, but just again, from last year in the presentation and what was asked for, just be a little bit more proactive to show that for now. But
Okay. All right. Thank you.
no, thank you.
Okay, we're ready to move on to personnel requests. Kendall.
So Warren County Public Schools personnel request reflects a collaborative effort between all of our cost centers and our team to help build this. Like Dr. Martin said, we built a rubric to identify the needs. This is going to reflect against our student-facing instructional support roles. So we are looking at including 3 general education teachers to help with our increasing class sizes over our elementary schools, which would include our E. Wilson Morrison Elementary School, A.S. Rhodes Elementary School, and Skyline Middle School as well. 4 special education teachers to help strengthen the services at our elementary schools, our special education population is increasing, so we need to help support our students with those needs. We're also looking to help support in place, like Dr. Martin said this year at AS Rhodes, they had a class size for second grade and third grade that was increased. We had to put in place this year to help support that teacher. So our students are going to go forward from second grade to third grade. They're moving up, so we will need that instructional assistant in place for next year as well. So again, that would just help address our rising enrollment with our student needs in our elementary settings. Then we're going to move down to our specialized support positions, which includes a board certified behavioral analyst, which addresses behavioral needs, helping students learn appropriate behaviors, reduces disruption, succeeds academically, socially through evidence-based strategies, and staff coaching. We currently have one on staff with us that helps support our special education students. We would need one for our general education students as well. Our translator position is to help improve family communication and accessibility, especially since our English learner population has doubled in size over the years. We are also including, like Ms. Drake said before, 2 Medicaid-funded intern school psychologists. This would help support their hours while they receive a supplement to support our students in person rather than virtual services that they're receiving currently. We'll move down to the administrative and operational roles, which would include our leadership. We currently have asked for this school year a principal for our non-traditional building, which we are currently sitting in today. We have that in place to help support the needs here, and we would like to continue that as next year's proposal as well. We have 2 deans of students listed as well. We have 1 current at LFK, so Leslie Fox Kaiser Elementary School. We have 1 currently, we're advertising that, so if you know anybody in mind, have them apply. And then the other one would be at our Blue Ridge Technical Center, which that individual there, we have a director and a principal who's all the same person. So this person would help support, our dean of students would help support our director to be able to go out and build our community relationships for our students' needs. We're also requesting a history curriculum coordinator to help strengthen our school leadership. As Ms. Bragg said before, history is changing. So we would want to help support our students and instructional coaching as well. We'll move down to our technical and HR, which would help support our HR journalist recruiter to help manage staffing, retention, and compliance as a record officer as well. A systems technician is ideally to support our technology operations and cybersecurity. Not sure if you heard the news around us, but we had a neighboring county who had to shut down on Monday because of a cyber attack. So we just want to make sure we're being proactive and have all of our protection in place, and this person would be solely for cybersecurity as well. The technology integration coach is to help curriculum instruction, where you would have an extra coach in place who could support our needs for our division level. The facilities and transportation, which would include a general maintenance position to help support our growing buildings and needs with our work order request. We would have 2 bus drivers as well. This would help with our seat time for our routes, since we are a staggered start time here. An 8-hour transportation trainer. I like to touch on this. We have a Grow Your Own program within our county where we help support our car drivers and take them through our training cycles and prepare them for the CDL, and then we can get them, once they pass, to become a bus driver with us. So that trainer would help ensure the safety and and efficient operations. We also have reclassifications listed below at the very bottom. This is to increase our bus drivers' route hours from 4.5 to 5 hours. They currently are driving the 5 hours due to the staggered start times, and we are compensating them through timesheets. So this would help build it into their salary. We would like to extend the A.S. Rhodes Elementary School bookkeeper, as that position is currently a part-time position. We would like to move that to a full-time position, or adjusting the pay from a flat hourly rate to compensate that individual through their years of experience. On staff with us, we have a part-time work-based learning coordinator at our Blue Ridge Technical Center to help expand the community and the trades that we offer to support our students to go out into the field and get the experience hands-on. We currently have one on staff that supports both of our high schools. This would just be an addition to the part-time individual. That way we could separate and maybe have one for one high school and one for the other high school is ideal. And then at the very bottom of that page just shows our little chart from what we have requested in the years past, what have we accomplished, and then what are we proposing for next year as well.
So if I could just add, because I think Kendall's mentioned car drivers, and you're wondering, well, we have buses, why do we need cars? So for one thing, we have special needs students that are transported out of Warren County to a day treatment program. It may be Grafton in Winchester or in Berryville, but we are required to transport those students. The other use of cars and our vans might be, we have homeless children that went to school here, but now they're homeless, but they only could find housing like in Winchester. We have to drive to Winchester, pick them up, and bring them back here because we don't want to disrupt their educational processes. And we are required to do that. So our transportation department, there's a lot happening there trying to get students where they need to be. So I didn't want you to go away, well, they've got cars, they're transporting kids. Well, that's what we have to do to get kids where they need to be.
Could you have someone go back to that slide where it showed that student population went up and then back down?
Sure. Student right there.
Yeah, that's it. So as I take a look at these, I see that the populations are decreasing, but I don't see anything on here that shows that, well, we're increasing the number of teachers, but are we also decreasing any teachers? Because, the population is going down, and is there a possibility to repurpose some of those teachers? You're teaching this class, but because the population is going down, like you said, there's a bubble, is what I would call it, in some of those class sizes, because you have a class size that's really big, and as it moves up, can you repurpose some of those? Because it sounds to me like you're adding more teachers, but you're not taking into account that some of your student population may be decreasing.
I'm glad you asked that question. So when we look at this, it's kind of a several-prong approach. I'm looking at the high school schedules and how that works. We may be looking at how many electives we're offering because there's a low enrollment in those electives, and can we take that teacher and repurpose it somewhere else? The other piece specifically for special ed, the state has very strict class enrollment requirements. So we could have so many kids in this type of special ed class, but then you can put an 8 in, but that's it. And so that's why you may see some more special ed teachers, because we're at capacity. And unfortunately, not that we have a large special ed population, but it is increasing. There's another piece of that, which is called a 504. So a student that qualifies for 504 services may be the special ed student that didn't qualify for special ed, but still needs help and support to do accommodations in the classroom. What does that look like? Most of these students, I won't say most, but a lot of them may be ADD or ADHD students, and they just need some help along that line. So we're providing support, whether that's reading their tests aloud, making accommodations in the classroom. So all of that takes staff, because now we're specializing that education for that specific child. I wish I could tell you that all the students are coming to school and they're just sitting in their seats and it's 15 per class and we just go on to the next one, we just fill those classes. But education has really become so specialized in what we offer to kids, because more often than not we have to offer those services.
So I thought you were going to say that we thought that kids would come and they'd sit down and they would just be in class, but you can't even get adults to do that. So,
but just let me say, you all are doing very well tonight, extremely well.
Dr. Martin, we did have some good slides on that during the FY26 budget presentation, because that question has come up. So there are some good reference slides that would go over why we have this increase in staff over the years. And some of it had to do with the addition of new schools and the splitting of the high schools, which goes back before that peak in 2012 and 2013. But that was the addition of a lot of staff at that time. And then, as you already mentioned, the state requirements that have brought in some new staff members.
If I may, Dr. Martin, another thing to consider, you may remember from the budget discussions last year, we requested the continuation of our student support coach and student support coach IAs in order to help to implement reading intervention and that sort of thing. Those positions were cut, I believe it was around 21 positions were cut. They're not necessarily certified teachers, but people that were serving the role of interventionists with reading specifically and math as well. This year, that Virginia Literacy Act, which I've talked about quite a bit, has expanded up into 8th grade. There are requirements of how we do intervention and remediation for those students that are not meeting the benchmark for literacy. And so that responsibility is also now falling on our classroom teachers more to pitch into that, because we have lost those positions. So it may not be reflected in certified teacher numbers, but that cut was pretty significant. And I certainly think our schools have felt that change as our reading plans. Obviously, there was an increase this year because we added 4th through 8th grade to it as well. So now we're looking at reading plans for K-8.
Just let me add, thank you for bringing this slide back up, because I failed to mention there is a student population here that we're not serving, and that's 579 students that are homeschooled. 579. And there are probably a couple of hundred religious exemption students. And so here's the difference. When the board releases a student for religious exemption, the school system has no other ties to that student. So the parents have decided, because of a religious reason that they have to verify with us, we're releasing them from compulsory attendance. Homeschool. When a child is homeschooled, they do have an obligation to the school system to show in the spring that the child has met certain benchmarks and they are progressing in their education. Now, also know that we have, by policy, and everybody, homeschool students can come back in if they take a certain number of classes, and they can participate with us. And I keep thinking, 579, That's a lot of students. I wonder if all of them came back. I don't know where we'd put them. I mean, I don't know where they would put them. So right now, I think we have a balance because we are serving some homeschool students in some of our areas because they're coming back. But also now homeschool students can come back anytime. Their parents can enroll them as a full-time student anytime. And then we just take them from where they are and then we move them forward. Rich, you don't have a question? I saw you.
It wasn't quite related to that. I just wanted to know if it gets some insight into what a dean of students is relative to a principal and vice principal.
Good. So so when we were in school, we had a principal and an assistant principal. Right. Okay. And more often than not, the assistant principal was the disciplinarian.
I remember.
Would you like to share your record? You're just going record with everybody. So now we've become a little bit more specialized because there are so many instructional standards that we have to meet. So we have a principal and we have probably an assistant principal, and more often than not, that assistant principal is helping the principal do instructional things. The dean of students that we have are behavior disruptive. You would have known them. Okay. They're the ones that are doing the discipline. So the principal and assistant principal can concentrate on instruction with the students.
Sounds like Dr. Martin's got your number.
Did you go to school here?
No.
Oh, okay. We could still get your record.
Mine's probably readily available.
Would you want that publicly? Okay, good.
Well, no, it wouldn't help anything.
Okay. All right, so that was a little diversion. I apologize. And going back, we're now moving to, here we go, Mr. Money himself. Dr. Costner is going to talk over capital improvements.
And first of all, again, thank you all. I know one of the things about Warren County, we have some beautiful buildings, some county buildings, some government buildings, schools. I mean, they look amazing. I mean, they really do. You ride through and you can see them. The challenges that I know that we're all facing across in Warren County is that they may look beautiful on the outside, but some of the infrastructure and some of the things to keep them looking beautiful and keep them functional, we need to maintain, and we've got to keep maintaining them and taking care of them. And that's where, I appreciate the input from our building committees and sharing and looking at things. So we have what's called a capital improvement plan. It's developed over for 6 years right now. It is a fluid plan because please understand, a lot of the things we ask for may be readily expensive. And if so, if we're not able to afford it, we will push it to the next year because these are things that have to be done. One of the simplest and best examples I can give is to being able to help get our tennis courts back up and going. We were able to, thanks to your help, it is part of our capital improvement plan for those tennis courts to be repaired. We have Skyline High School has been repaired. Our students will be able to use them. Due to Mother Nature coming in a lot quicker than what was expected, we won't be able to work on Warren County High School until the spring. But there we'll be able to repair it. But hopefully because of that challenge, we might be able to stagger when we have to come back to say we need to redo them. It is on our capital improvement plans. But one of the things that looking at our plan is our roof system. Our roof system has been evaluated. Our schools, as beautiful as they are, some have shingles, and then they also have like a rubberized system roofing. Some have a mixture of both, and time is taking its toll on. As you know, when you get Mother Nature comes in, you get cold, you get freezing. the water if it gets down in there, if it freezes, it expands and causes more damage. So we do have a couple of schools that are in need of repair, and that's why you see listed there. Hilda J. Barber's roof is one of the first ones. We try to prioritize it based on the analysis that was done when the company came in and evaluated our roofing system. So we try to spread it out. Kind of the same as when we're talking about personnel increases and everything else. We're not asking for everything to be done at once, but things need to be done. Another simple example may be like our intercom system. When the schools were built, they were great, but as time, it takes its toll. And then also, technology is a wonderful thing, but as it advances, it changes, and so when something becomes obsolete, you can't find parts to fix it. And so you have to work and try to come up, and we've got a great technology department and maintenance crew that try to work together to get those things fixed. But for our capital improvement plan, as you can see there, it's based, we try to rank what needs to be done. We've tried to spread it out through the years so that it can happen. Along with that goes with our bus systems. We talked that we need to get some of our buses that need to be replaced. A lot of say, well, your buses don't have a lot of mileage on them. They may not have as much mileage, but they may starting to age out. The other thing is that we do an outstanding job in the county putting out salt to make sure our roads and students can get to and from school and people can travel on the roads. The problem with salt is it increases the potential for our vehicles to rust. And so when they start to rust, we can't have students riding on unsafe buses. So that's why our fleet, as Dr. Martin shared with you, we do have from cars to buses that our fleet, we need to, it's the same as everybody. As your car starts getting old and wearing out, and you try to replace it, you try to take care of it, but there's a time where you need to replace it. So that's why there is a request there for the increase in buses. So that's, in general, you can see that, the paving, the resurfacing of the parking lot, again, that's because when you have inclement weather, it freezes, it'll cause asphalt to separate. And through the years, we have to maintain and take care of it. Is there any particular questions that you may have about the capital improvement plan? And there was a fleet we provided where it says 5 buses. If you click on it, it will provide you, and it'll take you to showing all of our buses that are in the fleet. It shows you, it's got it break down by the mileage, the life expectancy of the bus, and it shows which ones are in need to be replaced. But let me back up and say our transportation folks, they do a great job. They do a good job of taking care and keeping our buses rolling. And also, as you all know, we work on our county vehicles for you all, and we have a good working relationship. Our mechanics, we put them up against any of them because they're hard working and they want to take care of our county vehicles across the board. So any questions? I apologize. Yes, sir.
Well, 2 questions. I know it's expensive, but I hate a shingle roof on a commercial building because this is going to come up more often. Was it even considered to switch them to metal? And I was just curious how old that roof was at Hilda J.
The Hilda J roof, and this is a rather large document that's attached to it. It's got a breakdown of the ages for you. Let's see. Hilda J. Barber Elementary is 23 years old, is the approximate age. And that's the rubberized system, with both of them, the shingles and the rubberized system.
It seems like even for shingles, that seems like a premature roof failure. Did anybody see if any of that was contributed to storm damage, or would the insurance company have any input or maybe help them replace some of that? Because typically the sorriest shingles are 35-year. Most commercial shingles are a 50-year. The 23-year shingle replacement seems premature, so I'd be curious if anybody had evaluated any of that hail damage, or could it be contributed to something the insurance may help pay for.
I'll be glad to check into that to see if they've looked into that for if there is any damage, because I know, again, speaking from my own personal home, after a severe hailstorm, yeah, I'm calling my insurance company to come out and double check it. But I'll be glad to check on that. I don't know where our school's insurance covers that or how it covers it. That would be another question to see if it falls into that. But that's not a problem for us to look into and have prepared for the next meeting.
Just another angle. Maybe,
Yes, sir.
Maybe something to save a few dollars. Thank you.
Oh, yes.
But you mentioned metal roofing. Would love to put metal roofs on these buildings.
Yeah,
So-
we've talked about that in the building committee meetings, that if we could get a cost comparison to see.
It's almost double.
It's probably, at one time it was triple. It was weird during the, from being a contractor, fuel goes up very sharply. Shingles are an asphalt product. And at one time, shortly after the COVID crazy inflation crisis, certain things got really expensive at a faster rate than the others. And I actually built my son a house, and it was really weird, some of the stuff that we did. We did a stained seam metal roof at only about 25% more the cost than shingles. And then treated lumber was so expensive during that we actually did a concrete porch cheaper than the wood. But that they were still very expensive. When I say it was cheaper, it doesn't like it was the normal price and that was cheaper. It was, everything was just so grossly inflated. But for the the longevity, when we were doing the math for my son's roof, for 30-year mortgage money, $7 a thousand. It was another $7,000. So total payback, it was $4,900 over a 30-year mortgage. So my question was to him was, would you be able to replace that roof in the 30 years for the $4,900 it would cost you? And he said, I couldn't do it today. I know I won't be able to do it in 30 years. So, but there's still a budget at some point. If you can't afford the additional money, sometimes on a small scale, $50 or $100 a month can unqualify you for a loan. So, but he was okay that way. But just looking at a long-term, much longer-term problem solving, I do prefer metal on a commercial building, but at the same time, if it puts the building out of the acceptable cost range, sometimes you can only do what you can afford.
If you look at like Hilda J, which is probably our most needy roof, shingles in the front where you can put the metal on, but then there's a membrane on the other side, which you can't do that. You just have to put the membrane.
Right. Yeah, there's no escaping that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No. Any other questions with the capital improvement? The next thing that, just to let everyone know, we discussed this with the school board. We do have contracted services with 3 companies. One of them is ESS. Those are the folks that work with our substitutes and getting our substitutes in the schools. We have HES, which is our custodial service program. As one of the custodians we share with the county, they go over to the government side, clean the government side. And then we have Sodexo, which is our food and nutrition. And each one of those, that there are contractual services that within the contract, they can ask for an increase each year. So we have to budget for that to be prepared in case that increase does come. So if we don't budget for it and they do ask for an increase within the contract, then we have to pull from other means. So that's why that's listed there as a 3% contractual increase.
So it's a 3% increase, but what is the total cost for ESS, HES, and Sodexo?
That would be the total 3% increase.
No, but what I'm saying is,
Yes,
okay,
sir.
so it's 3% increase. So then if I take that 3% divided into to 26,000, would that give me the total cost of the contract?
So
HS.
I know for ESS, right now we have budgeted $880,712, and then if you add the $26,422, which is the 3%, we would be at $907,134. So that would be the total budget line that we would have to plan for the next fiscal year.
So then HES sounds like it'd be about 2.5 times that, or $2.5 million.
HES, and I can give you a rough estimate on the, let me do some quick calculation. Because I know that I can give you approximate with I can get to my
Two
calculator.
point two million.
Yeah,
I'm a
two-
little over
2.2 million for the-
2.5
for the
2.25
Thank you.
million, something like that.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And
That's
so-
what,
And so ESS, I know what Sodexo does, and ESS is your substitute. What's HES?
HES is our custodial services throughout the entire division. They take care of all the schools. They take care of the maintenance. They take care of the school here. They take care of the school board office and also the government side and transportation. All of the buildings that we own, they take care of.
Do they take care of the buses too, or, as far as?
Cleaning the buses and everything. No, sir. That normally the shop or the bus drivers take care of cleaning the buses out.
So I know historically custodians used to be employees of the school system. And if I remember correctly, the way we went through this, because it was supposed to be a cost savings of going this way. Is that still true? Because I don't know how many custodians you have now. I know when I worked at Resi, it was one during the day, and I think 2 extra came in at night to clean. But it just seems like an awful lot. Do we still know that that is the best bang for the buck than having them as county employees?
Keeping, and Mr. Valentine might be able to help me a little bit with this too. Before we went out for an RFP, because our custodial services we just renewed the contract with a different company because they came in at a lower price. If we kept it with the same number of custodians that are on staff, based on moving forward, there was a significant savings. Yes, ma'am, because we're paying the company handles the benefits and all that, and that's where a lot of times it would jump out and cause problems, because ideally it would be great if we did not have to go to contract out, but financially there was a significant enough savings, if I'm correct. But we could run those numbers.
We can get those to you.
And get them to, yes ma'am, we can get you that information. And again, we do have some that come work in the day and some come at night. So that is still the same. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, are we ready to move on to real money? And who best to talk about real money than Brad?
The new guy.
Yeah.
Thanks. Well, thank you, Dr. Martin, and certainly members of the school board and our board of supervisors. This on our side is the first budget meeting for the board of supervisors of the cycle. So I'm sure they're excited to learn more about this, and certainly it's at least the first component, which is we're going to talk about tonight, which is the debt service. They've seen this presentation, so this is nothing new for them. But we appreciate this opportunity to have this joint meeting. I think it's feedback that I certainly heard from watching historical meetings or speaking with some of the board members individually and through the interview process and in other conversations. Certainly it's something that the board was interested in having a sooner process to start discussing budget. Certainly, particularly within the school realm, as it is, of course, the largest portion of the budget in totality. So this is a very important process for certainly for the county to engage in this joint venture and this joint session. I really appreciate Dr. Martin's. This one page is awesome. I love this. I'm getting I feel a bit. I hope our board of supervisors doesn't hone too much into that. Our budget process is not going to be as instructive. I am not an educator, and so this process for us on our end will be a little different. But this is great. This meeting is wonderful, and you certainly have done a good job organizing what I can see your proposal for this year. So I appreciate that. Okay, so debt service. Dr. Martin had asked that we put put this presentation together for our boards to take a look at as far as context with regard to debt as it relates to the school. This is pulled from a presentation that the county had received from our financial advisors, Davenport, and I pulled only slides that are, specifically germane to the school district as far as what your debt service is. But this first slide really does capture very nicely debt service across the organization, both county and school district. So this first slide really does capture nicely that debt service portfolio year over year. You can see we have that listed out. And I think what is most notable for wandering minds might be to take a look at year 2030 on this debt service schedule. You can see a precipitous drop in annual debt service. That's that far right-hand column. You can see the total there on the school side, dropping from 10.1 million to approximately $8 million in 2030 worth of debt service. So that's kind of a good number to keep in mind as you start to build that long-term budget horizon. Slide 2, I wanted to include merely because it gives a nice kind of historical context to the county and school district debt portfolio year over year. Gives a nice kind of summary of what each of the bond issue or actually not only bond issues but also debt. There's some private debt in there as well, some direct bank loans and other things. So this kind of gives you a nice historical context to what those debt issuances were year over year. And then slide 3 and beyond really give a nice summary, starting to get more into detail with regard to the debt portfolio as it relates to an annual spend. Debt, slide number 3 provides, of course, the total debt as it relates to that par amount, that being the, if we were to pay off all of that debt as of this moment in time, the school district would have to, basically pony up $90 million. And the county would have to free up about $7.6 million. Again, that's just face value, not including interest. But it's good to see kind of in that format. And then
so then basically our debt is equals what we bring in the county. 98 million.
That's an unfortunate way to look at it, but yeah, that's a pretty accurate way to look at it. Yes.
Okay.
And then slides 4 through the remainder give per slide a detailed kind of description of the specific bond issues, again, that are just germane to the schools. Some of those bond issues do include some other debt, some county debt or general debt, but each of the slides were pulled out because it included specifically school debt. So I wanted you to have that information just so you know what the exact issue was for, and give some more information as it relates to the specific annual debt service as it relates to that specific bond. So if you have any questions on those, we'd be happy to engage the district more in terms of what those questions may be, and can get more information for you. But this presentation in its totality really gives a really good kind of high level detail as to what the school district's debt is as of this moment. So, is there any Are there any questions from either the school board or the board of supervisors on debt specifically?
This is very helpful.
Great. Yeah, Davenport did a nice job kind of putting this together, and they certainly are willing at any point to come back to present, to our board or to the board of the school board on debt, or not only debt, but not only current debt, rather, but also if the bodies have any specific questions as it relates to project-based needs, capital-based needs, or any other kind of debt-related discussion that it wishes to have. And then Dr. Martin had also asked us to produce a high-level discussion on revenue projections.
High level?
High level, very high level.
Didn't realize that.
This is, we had asked staff to put this together. This is again, a very high-level projection. We don't yet have our specific revenue numbers out from the commissioner's office, but the finance director, Alyssa Scott, is here to present this high-level revenue projection. And I think...
high level now. Come on.
Very high level.
Will we be able to get that added to our agenda so it'll be there? 'Cause
Yeah.
it's not currently on there.
It is now.
It's fresh. It's
Oh,
Okay.
it is perfect.
So the next slide is the highest level. So this is what we're anticipating FY27 as of today, as of this moment to be. So as you can tell, 75% of our revenue is earned from property taxes. That's real estate, public service, personal property, and includes penalties and interest. And we have other local taxes, state revenue, federal revenue, which is not considerable. It's at 0 right now because we only consider federal revenue for grants. On the next slide is a little bit more of a historical viewpoint of the real estate, personal property, and penalties of interest.
How come it went down, the budget last year was 98 million, how come it's down to 93 million?
That's just currently what we're estimating our revenues to be.
That's revenue.
Right.
So yeah, but I mean, the revenues this last year was 98 million, if I recall.
So there's been a few changes. We're just getting the numbers in right now from the Commissioner of Real Assessment. And I know that the public service revenue is going down. That was the first number that I got in. That was about $200,000 down. We don't include grants for federal government.
Okay,
So there's some things to take into consideration.
all right.
But I'd be happy to go into more detail once we get further along in the budget process. And the next slide goes into other local taxes that is business licenses, motor vehicle licenses, lodging tax, meals and beverage tax. And the next slide is going to be permits and licenses, animal licenses, permits and fees, parks and rec fees. The next slide is our state revenue. A lot of this is from the compensation board. Categorical and non-categorical aid. And the next slide is charges for services. And the next slide. Permits, fees, and licenses.
So on these graphs, there's the 3 colors of green. I'm not sure I can tell what's what. Are any of these over budget? Are they? Can you just like maybe for one of the bars go over what we're looking at?
Yeah, this is pulled straight off of our website from ClearGov. So, which would you like to look at specifically?
Well, like when it said, so like on this one, looking at the ones on the right, it's like there's dark green for a little bit and then there's light green. What does that signify?
It talks about actual and budgeted and over budget, and when you're talking about revenue, you don't necessarily go over budget.
So what's over budget revenue?
It's mostly
How do we
for
get some?
expenditures. I would just focus on
Just the total?
Yeah, just the totals and how it compares historically.
Okay.
And I think there's one more slide left. Yeah, so the use of money, this is the interest that we earn off of our investment accounts and any leases that the county has. And next slide. Recovered costs. This is probably one of the most dramatic slides. This is the EDA recovery money that we received in 2020, 2021, a little bit in 22, and less.
Is that slide pretty much gonna go away? Except for historical purposes?
Yeah, it's not going to be a very significant resource for revenue.
Would the delinquent taxes fall under recovered costs?
Right now, we have the delinquent taxes falling into the actual category of real estate, personal property, business licenses.
So when it says recovered costs, 1.1 million, is that this year's recovered costs?
Take a look here.
It's hard to see the date, but I don't think so.
I mean, I was thinking as we were going through these that each number was for this year, but maybe I'm misinterpreting that.
That's really nothing for this year.
Yeah, it's not a whole lot of revenue. It's only $1 million, but it is for 27.
Oh.
So it is the million for 27.
So even though the little bar is very tiny,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, the chart
still $1 million.
Yeah.
Right.
What's the number on that tall
High
bar?
level, right? What's that?
What's the number on that tall bar? If the little bar is a million.
Tiny little million.
I was just curious. It's not important, honestly.
Yeah.
So is that a total of 1.1 million over this entire 10-year period, or?
Just this year,
Yeah, just for 27.
just for 27. Go back far enough.
Yeah, it only goes back for a couple of years, but I've brought it as a reference. So it's,
I was just curious. It's such a big
right,
steep jump.
yeah. That was mostly the significant portion of the recovered cost was the EDA. I think there's 2 more slides, looks like.
Cost recovery from EMS not falling in?
No, this is just general fund. So this is intergovernmental. So this is any transfers from any of our sanitary districts that we basically pay ourselves for administrative fees and covering the sanitary districts. And the last one is fines and forfeitures.
So I think the overall takeaway here is for the purpose of this specific portion of the presentation being revenue projections for the specific benefit of this joint body is that revenue projections, we're not projecting any sort of major, unfortunately, major swing upward, but we are actually projecting somewhat a downward slide on revenues. That's accurate to say?
The first inclination that I have is that they would go down for public service. So if that's an indication for real estate, personal property is very unknown. That's your vehicles in your mobile home. So, but yeah, it's definitely a very fluid projection right now.
But we on a 5-year trend line, we don't anticipate that to be a long-term slide, or Is that accurate?
It get not any significant increases
Or decrease.
or decrease.
But in Warren County, typically over a long-term time horizon, our revenues have been, just sitting here right now, and I know I didn't ask you to prepare this, so I don't feel put on the spot, although I'm putting you on the spot. Do we know over a 10, 15-year period what our average revenue increase has been as a percentage?
Do you mind going back to the slide one? I'm sorry for asking you to pull it back up again. One more slide. This is the most significant source of revenue
Sure.
for the general fund.
And that's property tax.
And tax rates definitely affect that.
So where would you say the because this last year we had 98 million, where would you say that the decrease in revenue would be? Because you're showing, not this slide, but the one right above it. The 93 million, right there.
He's trying to figure out where the decrease is.
Right,
at.
from 98 to 93.
In ClearGov, if you back up a year, it doesn't say 98, it says 93,440, which isn't that different.
So a couple of years ago, we removed any revenue from DSS and CSA from the general fund, and we put that into its own fund, Fund 13, DSS fund. And so that's where the significant drop came.
All right.
So it's not necessarily specific grants, as I said before, but it's mostly
just
because of removing that
the
revenue.
decrease is a matter of bookkeeping. Okay.
And this is, the general fund is where the local contribution to the school district comes from, so this is the best fund to portray tonight.
The one with the graph. Oh, it showed the last 3 years pretty flat.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I just get so many citizens that say their taxes have went up either due to assessment or whatever over the last 3 years, but the graph doesn't show it.
It does not. So in 26, we equalized the tax rate, so it basically decreased the tax rate and had the least amount of impact to the citizens.
It was supposed to be a
assessed
trade,
value.
so it was supposed to be
Yes.
within 1%.
Yes.
I get so many people that say theirs went up so much,
Mm-hmm.
and it's more than 1%. I just can't quite wrap my head around.
It was equalized on an aggregate basis, not on an individual basis. So somebody who got a very high increase in their appraisal, there's a lot of variance, in other words. So some people did get some people got.
Do you know anybody that went down?
I don't.
Yeah.
You
It
do?
was not everybody's increased and not everybody's decreased. It was.
I just never met anybody that decreased, but they probably wouldn't call and tell me that. The guys that got theirs increased were gladly to call and let me know that information. So yeah.
And the other thing, Hugh, is that when people saw their property valuations go up, they equated that to, oh, I'm going to be paying higher taxes. But then when we dropped the real estate, some of those just came out flat. But to them, they're still paying higher because my assessment was higher.
The only thing that did add it to some of the frustration from some of those people. Oh, when the assessment went up, you know, their taxes and insurance are escrow, and their escrow went up, and a lot of them might have contributed to taxes. But if the assessment went up, the insurance company, considering having the replacement value, a lot of people's insurance went up. So if you went from, you know, in a real numbers, a $500,000 house to 625, it's a 20% increase. So consequently, you could have had a 20% insurance increase, which had nothing to do with taxes, but it shows in the escrow. They just know their payment went up that much, and a lot of people don't.
You know, that's one thing I hadn't taken into account.
Yeah, they were.
Right.
I had one of them that was jumping up and down pretty bad about it.
Okay.
But I don't know what to, I told him to look at it this way, your house is worth more money, but, you know, so it's not a very good argument for somebody that's paying more and really didn't do anything to cause that.
So let's talk about how we've saved money in the county. Let's talk about consolidated services for just a moment. Right now, the school system provides maintenance on all the county vehicles. And I think I reported to the board very early on because I wanted to know, are we really saving any money? We are saving money, probably about $200,000 a year in parts and labor cost alone. And that's servicing those because our labor rate is a lot lower than if you went to a shop in town somewhere. So as I look at that, and I can give you the data because I've looked at it over like 3 or 4 different years that they've provided that to me, and it's really, it's working. And if you haven't been to our shop, I will just tell you, it's one of the cleanest I've ever been in. These guys really do a phenomenal job in transportation. Another thing that I've learned that you all stole one of our HVAC people and to work on your stuff, which are basically the building that we have our school board office in, but he does all the other buildings in the county. And I think we are responsible for the salary. We pay that salary.
We do pay the salary, but then the county does reimburse us annually for that. So,
You didn't say that.
Okay.
oops, I wasn't supposed to say that, was I? I forgot.
I was
Sorry.
waiting for the historian to wake up, and he did. So, which lends itself to, are there other services that we could look at? And in doing that, I can tell you when I was superintendent in Fauquier County, there are combined services that are like no other. So they do combine transportation, they combine HR, they combine purchasing and procurement, they combine finance. So those sorts of things have garnered big savings there. So as we look down the road, I can tell you from the school perspective that you have a tremendous procurement and purchasing person that we use for advice, and she has been quite helpful to us in putting out bids and looking at saving money, which I'm thinking if we worked a purchasing department together and we bought things in bulk and we had a place to store those. Let me give you an example. I've been in a system where copy paper has become quite expensive. I used to buy it by the train load. When I say train load, but I had a place to store it that was climately controlled, because the last thing you want is a teacher to put a paper through a copier and it won't work because it's moisture, it's all this and that and the other. But when you can buy in bulk, you can save thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And just looking at other things that we could purchase to save on both sides. That's an area I think that could bring some benefits to both sides.
How about that HES contract?
Well, we are currently,
We should, the custodian does go across.
yeah,
things
we
that go inside, yes.
service your area as well.
Our custodians
Yeah.
have their system.
Okay.
Another area maybe to look at down the road, Rachel, I think I've seen quite a big benefit if you look at HR services, if you have a staff that can both control the certifications from both the county side and the school side, looking at benefits, looking at payroll, looking at how you do that. Is that something that I believe that you could put together next year? Probably not. And I know Rachel doesn't like that answer, but I think that takes a lot of planning, a whole lot of planning. But there are cost savings. When I was superintendent of Fauquier, I can tell you the HR director worked for both the county administrator and the school superintendent. She was at the county administrative staff meetings and was at my staff meetings. And it was flawless. And we saved a lot of money, particularly in benefits and looking at how we do things and putting things together. And the last one, which is finance. And that is probably a little bit more trickier when you're looking at systems that have been apart for so long. Again, in Fauquier, that's my experience. I still had a finance director that helped with the school system, but the county did all the payroll. They did, it's how it was put together and how it made it work. How did we save money? Staffing, a lot of staffing, a lot less staffing. So I'm saying, I think there are ways, because we've talked this whole night about there are things we want to do, but we can't get it all at once. And there has to be a planned approach in how we do that. And I think as you look at consolidated services, I think there are ways that we can chip at that a little bit and realize some cost savings. We can't do it all at once. It's got to be a planned approach. It's got to be a very deliberate approach in how we think about doing that. I want to go back to purchasing because I think that's an immediate savings. But this building, we have space, but it's not climately controlled space. We have a lot of surplus area that we have our surplus stuff here. But this used to be a school. I have hallways that you can make offices and make it climately controlled, and I think you could save money. But that will be up to you all as you kind of look down the road. And so I guess the last thing is school board budget presentation. So as I started out this night saying this board has already had 2 work sessions. You have all the PowerPoints for everything we've done because we want you to have all the information. Is this the last time we're going to meet? I don't think so, but you've now got information, and by all means, you have to ask us questions. You have to make us give you information. There are absolutely no secrets in a budget. None. There are just none, and we want you to ask us questions. We want you to be a partner in developing this budget as you're going to be with all the other departments. I think the one thing that makes me a little unique as a superintendent is I've been a Board of Supervisor member. And because I know how you're put together, I know how we're put together, and I think there are ways to look at how you can save money. When I did serve on the Board of Supervisors, my colleagues, well, how's this done, Dave? How does this done? I mean, how does that really work in the budget? We feel they're giving us all the information. And I said, well, you can't touch that money because there are strings to it. And just how we look at budgets. You have to, you've got a county administrator who's already asking us questions and because he wants to know. And that's a good place to be, a really good place to be. So we stand ready to go forward.
And he gave me the answers too, so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Whether I wanted them or not. So.
I personally think whether we would move forward in joining all of those, I do think it's very worthy of a conversation to do that. I always say nothing ventured, nothing gained, and I'm certainly willing to sit down and to have that discussion and figure out, how that would work and a time schedule, because you certainly wouldn't want to jump in and do everything at once, and acclimating things. But I agree, it's something to consider and to get the best bang of the taxpayers' dollars and improve performances and systems as well. And, you said one of your items was to get you more help. Combining would get you the help without a big cost, because we're both paying for the same things already. So it was something that seems to make sense to give great consideration to. And I do want to put a plug out for Miss Henry, because she is a Warren County Public School graduate. So,
I could tell instantly. Very positive.
the pride shines through.
Yes, it does.
And that's when we had, let's see, yes, one high school. 2007, I believe.
Anybody have anything else? Nothing else this evening?
Thank you all very much.